It was early morning in Addis Ababa. The palace guards were missing from their posts. Inside the royal compound, silence. But not the peaceful kind, the kind right before a storm. A man stood by a window, staring out at a city still wrapped in mist. In a few hours, Ethiopia would either have a new beginning, or it would drown in blood. And the man watching the sunrise? He had already made his choice. Years earlier, before the smoke and betrayal, he was just a soldier, disciplined, educated, loyal. He believed in a dream, a modern Ethiopia free from corruption. He rose through the ranks quickly, not by fear. Men called him the soldier's general. He smiled rarely, but when he did, it meant something. His life was bound by one rule: never betray your country. But what happens when your country betrays you? As he climbed higher, he began to see the cracks. Young men starving in the countryside, officials growing rich overnight, and whispers that the empire was rotting from within. He wrote reports, sent letters, pleaded for reform, but nothing changed. Then, one day, he received an order. It wasn't about war or defense. It was to silence a group of students demanding justice. He hesitated. For the first time, he disobeyed, and from that moment on, he was no longer the emperor's loyal general. He gathered men he trusted, officers, colonels, even ministers, all of them disillusioned, all of them waiting for a spark. The plan was dangerous. They would seize control of the capital while the emperor was abroad, in South America, visiting Brazil. It would be swift, clean. They would detain the royal family, broadcast a message of freedom, and declare a new government. He told his men, "We will not kill him. We will save him from himself." But coups have no mercy for hesitation. At dawn, it began. Gunfire cracked through the streets. By noon, the palace was surrounded. He stood at the microphone and spoke to the nation. "The emperor's reign is over. Ethiopia will be free." For a few hours, it worked. People poured into the streets. Some cheered, others wept. And far away in a foreign hotel room, the emperor heard the news. He didn't panic. He simply looked out the window and said, "It will pass." But by the second day, the cracks returned. His men argued about orders. Loyalist troops regrouped. The Air Force, still loyal to the crown, began bombing rebel positions. The city descended into chaos. By the third day, the coup was collapsing. His brother, also a commander, was captured. And he, the man who dreamed of justice, was now a fugitive in his own city. He fled through alleys, still in his uniform, covered in dust and blood. He had one last pistol, and no more allies. 3 days later, soldiers found him hiding near a church. He didn't fight. He simply raised his hands and said, "It was never for me. It was for them." The trial was swift. They called him a traitor. But even in court, witnesses said he looked calm, almost relieved. And when they asked him if he regretted it, he said quietly, "Only that I failed." He was sentenced to death. They hanged him publicly, along with those who followed him. The crowd was silent. No cheers, no jeers, just silence. And the emperor returned home, watched the city rebuild itself as if nothing happened. But history remembered, because the man who tried to overthrow the empire was not driven by greed or glory, but by a desperate hope that his country could change. Only years later would his name resurface, spoken softly, then louder. His name was General Mengistu Neway.